What is the value of someone's character? Whose measuring scale is correct in this? Now, one person may admire bravery, some people may admire outgoingness, might value intellectual ability, but ultimately, how we assess and measure character has to do with our own perception. And our own perception must focus first on how we judge our own character, how we evaluate ourselves. Now, usually, if we have a harsh measuring scale for ourselves, we're going to judge other people harshly. Now, if we judge other people harshly, then people usually do not want to connect with us. People do not usually respond well to us. And we must always realize that when somebody else is judging another harshly, 9 times out of 10 it's going to be because they're judging themselves harshly most of the time. We tear ourselves up within, and we don't allow ourselves to build back up. We focus on our mistakes, and instead of using them, instead of moving past them, we make them worse by allowing them to alter our perception of ourselves and then everyone else in turn. To examine yourself, just examine the rest of humanity and decide, okay, if I look at these people this way, if I look at introverted people one way, why do I look at them that way? Why do I look at them either as being better or worse than other people? Or a lot of the time it's neutral. Why is my opinion of them neutral? And usually it should be an even opinion. It should be a neutral opinion a lot of the time, unless somebody does something really terrible or really good. A lot of our opinions should be neutral, but we find that we dislike a certain group of people or this or that person for the flimsiest of reasons. The flimsiest of reasons usually do not bode well for our measuring scale. Usually it shows that there are flaws in how we look at the world and ourselves. Usually it shows that we have much work to do within and not necessarily other people have to do for themselves. Now, let's say somebody picks on me. Let's say somebody's constantly making the same joke over and over again, and it's playful, but it gets annoying. I can't even think of an example right now, but you know what I'm talking about. If it becomes something you think about quite a bit, and your hatred builds and builds and builds just because of this, stupid joke this person always makes towards you, then usually it shows a lacking of your ability to remain constant, remain calm, remain level. And instead of beating yourself up because you have these emotional reactions, say, okay, what can I do with my perception in order to mitigate my own view of someone else's so-called flaws, which are usually internal flaws for ourselves. Imagine that the entire world was as you want it to be. How would it look? How would it operate? Who would benefit and who would be put in jail, or who would have less power? And that's when we start to really get into ideology. And even our flawed perception of other people because of our own insecurities can affect our ideology, can affect how we view people who, let's say, commit certain crimes. Let's say people who steal. You have a heightened idea of the value of things. You're very attached to material, and you believe in working for them. And you, of course, disagree with people stealing, but if this hatred builds and builds and builds, you just really hate people who steal, then usually it's because we have this insecurity about how hard we work in life. This is just an example. This isn't going to be true for everybody, and this isn't true in every case of somebody who really hates burglars or thieves. But this is just an example. Now, I spent quite a bit of my life trying to make my own measuring scale fair. And it started with understanding who I truly was and looking at myself in the right light. And then once I had that ironed out, it was much easier to perceive the vast majority of humanity as having quite a bit of potential, positive potential, and not necessarily being great or terrible, but something that is involved in choice. We as sentient beings are very much involved with our own inner choices, and externally we think we have quite a bit of choice, but really there are many forces that are much bigger than us, kind of putting pressure from various angles. You can say government, you can say religion, you can say the people you're around in your community. There's a lot of forces, and we get frustrated when these forces inflict and affect our choice. So instead of allowing that frustration to build up into hatred toward certain groups of people, or maybe the government, or maybe your society or religion, instead of that hatred building up, start to realize that most of the time these domains are ruled based on materiality, based on material rules that do not exist in a non-material universe. But since we exist in a material universe, these rules seem so oppressive because we get attached to the things around us. We get attached to material. And when we step back and realize that we don't need necessarily approval of other groups, and we don't need to operate with the same level of value of material as these systems operate under, usually. And this is very vague, but I hope you're getting the gist of what I'm saying. Basically, wrapping this up, look at how you look at people before you make any big decisions about who you hate. And if you start to realize there's hate bubbling up in you, then mitigate that hate, check it, and decide if that hate is warranted or if it's just because there's a frustration within you that you're projecting out onto the world. So hey, thank you very much for watching. Shoot that thumbs up down there if you like this video at all. Feel free to shoot down a comment if you disagree with me, if you agree with me, whatever you want to say. And feel free to follow me on Patreon. Support me there, and I'd really appreciate it at www.patreon.com/darkrealist. Capital D, capital R. Thank you all, and hope all of you have a great day.